Hello, I'm Tara Brabazon and I'm the Dean of Graduate Research at Flinders University, and welcome to Vlog 236, the characteristics of the best PhD students. This vlog is of course matched with the Darth Vader vlog last week, the problems, the challenges, so this is more of our Yoda vlog. So there's a lot of attention to students that struggle. There's a lot of attention to the problems that exist in the PhD space, a lot of attention to attrition. And under-researched are the characteristics of the students that succeed and succeed well. Yes, this space has platitudes, but we're not going to go with the platitudes today. We're going to undergird these characteristics with some resilience, but also with some power, some argument and some interpretation. As Van Root et al. Argued in their 2019 article, and it was titled "Factors That Influence PhD Student Success," end of quote, we all hear the bad stuff that's encircling PhD students. And look, it is a very negative space. It is a patrolled space, it is a regulated space, it's a negative space. And we hear about the delays, the long candidatures. We hear about the students that just don't make it over and over again. But how and why students succeed, that's much less studied. A recent study from Costello in 2017 confirmed that 1/3 of the students that they surveyed had thought about leaving the program or were thinking about leaving the program. 1/3 on the day that survey was conducted. And maybe that's you. Today, maybe that's you, that you're thinking, I just can't do this. I just can't make this work. So let's deal with the characteristics of the best PhD students, and I'll tell you why. Today, particularly, I'm talking with you. Yep, you. The characteristics that you have control over involve you making a decision today to change how you're thinking about your candidature, even if you fake it until you make it. So today we've got 10 characteristics, and you know what? Each of these you can apply if you make a decision today. So you have complete control over these 10 variables. Now what I've done is I've used qual and quant studies from around the world, and also a fascinating data set, the blogs of students that have finished and what worked for them. So today, you ready for it? Let's do this. What allows students to finish? What allows students to be successful? Here we go. 1, commitment and motivation. Even I'm not arguing against this one. In fact, this is my ideal characteristic of the students I take on. And indeed, half of the supervisors in a University of Otago survey mentioned that commitment, perseverance, persistence, determination, dedication, tenacity, all those sorts of words are integral to a successful PhD student. So this survey confirmed that supervisors were happy to have the other attributes and characteristics develop if that commitment was in place at the start. So all the other characteristics involving supervisory support, peer support, were not successful if commitment and motivation were not in place at the start. So today, right now, list your 10 motivations for completing a PhD and put that up in your office. And it means that during those moments of doubt, you hold on to the motivation and the commitment, and that will get you through. 2, literacy and numeracy. All the surveys around the world confirm that literacy and numeracy are foundational skills for successful PhD students. So at its most basic, can a student write? Can a student manage a relatively straightforward engagement with numbers and understand the relationship between those numbers? Universities, of course, have an array of writing, numeracy and statistical packages and training to enable that expertise. But if a student arrives into a program deeply challenged in these areas, then hundreds of hours have to be spent by supervisors and other support staff like statisticians to help them to help you. Now, in the Otago survey, one of the supervisors stated, and this was important, I thought, quote, "I think that writing ability is important. It wastes a lot of my time and the students' time if we spend a lot of effort and time on correcting drafts. Literacy is simply on the list because the time pressures don't allow a student the luxury of a lack of writing skill to start with. However, writing can be taught." End of quote. Quite powerful, I thought. Therefore, for those of you considering entering a program, and I know there's a lot of you out there, hi team, what I'd advise is before you enter the program, in the days, weeks, months before you enter the program, spend some time in those great MOOCs on academic writing, on numeracy. Spend some time with statistical packages. And I also wanted to log that within this area, this characteristic, the students that write every single day are appreciated by supervisors because we learn to write by writing. We improve our numeracy with socialisation with numbers, understanding the relationship. Okay, 3, confidence. Yeah, now most of you know when I started this job all those years ago, I'd never heard of imposter syndrome. And I think it was one of the first requests that you gave of me about imposter syndrome. It was at vlog 3 or something, extraordinary. And of course I'd never heard of it, so I had to do some deep research. Now I can hear my friends around the world laughing at me, as they invariably do. The idea that I hadn't heard of imposter syndrome, they'd be finding terribly amusing. And that's because, you know, I know what I know. And I'm really happy with who I am, I know who I am, and if I don't know something, I'm excited. If I don't know something, that's brilliant, because then I've got something to learn. So I hopefully always approach every day as a learning opportunity. So it just means I've got no real imposter syndrome because I know what I know, and I learn about what I don't know, and that's great. So no imposter syndrome. I'm just excited about learning. So as you can see, confidence and self-actualization are not my problems. And in some ways I'm pretty thankful for that, because there's thousands of people around the world that have an incredible need to explain how stupid, ignorant, lazy I am. They have a problem with me being a woman or the type of woman that I am. They have problems with my discussion about femininity. Bless you. I wish you well. And I've never been too bothered about what other people think about me. I try and approach every issue with respect and kindness. If I get bad stuff my way, I hopefully always respond with kindness. I wish people well. But confidence in PhD students is reported as a huge requirement for a successful candidature, okay? So this means, what does confidence mean? Let's drill down a bit. This means students feel able to work independently, they have initiative, and they can assume responsibility. They value themselves and they value their expertise. Develop that characteristic, confidence. 4, time management and organisational skills. The ideal PhD student, as reported in the literature, is organised. So what does organised mean? Because it's one of those words, get organised. Well, what does that actually mean? Well, when I drill down a bit, it means that students plan their work, they meet deadlines, they have attention to detail, and they commit to their supervision and their supervisor, and they understand that the university is a workplace. Okay, so that means they demonstrate effective research and work habits. Now, time management can be learned, and very small interventions every single day, very small decisions can transform your candidature. Let me just give you some examples that you can apply today about how you organise yourself and organise your PhD to transform it. So for example, simple one, getting up 30 minutes earlier each day to write for that 30 minutes each day. So a lot of you out there, that rule changed your life. I know that, and you finished your PhD by doing that. So 30 minutes earlier, writing for 30 minutes, thanks for playing. Second one, restricting social media to particular times, restricting when and how you answer emails, crucial, big intervention. And also placing a work task at a particular time and not moving from that task until it is completed. So there's some very simple strategies that organise a PhD and transform a PhD. All of these change your life and change your candidature. But as you can see, your ability with time and with organisation, both of those abilities are seen to be valuable to supervisors. 5, ability to learn. I would also term this attribute the capacity to be open to different ideas. The most challenging PhD students we see, and invariably they don't finish their thesis, and they cause a lot of angst, a lot of bitterness, a lot of disappointment, a lot of challenge in an entire program, to be honest, are the students that come to a PhD program with a fully fleshed project. So they come with, this is what I'm doing, I know exactly what I'm doing, and this whole project I'm going to write up, and now I'm going to enroll and finish it. Now that seems great. Now of course, knowing your area and field and being motivated, all of this is absolutely tremendous. But the problem is, this is the first time that you've done a doctorate. So you don't know the requirements of completing a PhD. Having an interest in a research area is terrific. Being able to do a PhD in it are very different things. So these are the students that get very, very messy very, very quickly. And that's because we don't know what we don't know. So if students arrive into a program thinking that they know the field, and particularly if they've been underprepared in their undergraduate degrees, this stuff does not end well. And I've talked a little bit about underpreparedness there. Let me again give you a data point for that. So that great study by Aram and Roxa, Academically Adrift, they did a longitudinal study of undergraduate students. And they showed through that longitudinal study that undergraduate students are reading substantially less and writing substantially less in each course during their undergraduate degree. And that has been in place for 10 years. Okay. The consequences of that for us in doctoral programs is that there is a lot more that students do not know. So, and you know, I'll be truthful here as I always am. We could make assumptions about undergraduate degrees 10 years ago that students had this expertise. Now what is occurring, I make an assumption that a student has expertise in this methodology, ontology, epistemology, in this theoretical parameter, and when I ask a few questions, it's clear that the students have nothing there. Now that's cool, because now we know there's nothing there, we can build on it and work on it. But as you can see, so much more reading is required to create even the most basic understanding of the history of ideas. So the problems come in when a student thinks that they know the field, that they know the methodology, that they know the epistemology, even more so they know the discipline and ontology, and actually they have no idea. They think they're inventing something, and of course there's 50 years of research behind it. So the response to that awful moment of realisation for students will tell us a lot about the health of the candidature. If there is a willingness to learn and excitement to succeed, oh, that's interesting, that's an area I don't know, let's get into that. Those students will without a doubt be successful. But if there is a brittle refusal to recognise that there's something that the student does not know, then the candidature ends dreadfully. The brittle embarrassment turns into anger, turns into rage, attacks on the supervisor, attacks on the supervisor's professionalism, attacks on the very university in which they enrolled. And these dummy spits are actually of the worst order, and they come from brittle embarrassment. So be open to learning. You're here to learn. You are a student. 6, enthusiasm and passion. Now, I'm really listing my favourite attributes in life today, so it's wonderful the research showed this, because these would be my attributes as well. And look, I cannot convey to you how magnificent it is to supervise a passionate student. Enthusiasm, wow, is contagious. And when a student and a supervisor are motivated and they're doing fantastic things together and it's brilliant, the results are just simply tremendous. And a lot of focus on our culture, let alone our academic culture, is gravitas, is logic, is rationality. Basically being a good Mr. Spock. Big fan of Mr. Spock, live long and prosper. But you know what? Mr. Spock is not enough to get you through a PhD. You need a bit of Dr. McCoy. Always a big fan of Dr. McCoy. You know, you need that staunchness, that passion, that engagement, that love of the world, that engagement with the world, the outward engagement with the world. So do have a sense of your passions. The trouble with the word passion is it's overused at the moment, and like, what does it even mean? But let's try and reclaim the meaning of the word passion and make it meaningful in your candidature. So ask yourself, what are you passionate about? And make sure that your research taps into that passion. 7, hard work. You'll notice what is so amazing as I'm listing all these characteristics of the fabulous PhD students. Do you notice that I haven't mentioned intelligence or being smart? There's a reason for that. Because I think certainly brilliance and quick thinking is valued in our culture. But brilliance and quick thinking, that's not enough to get you through a PhD. Being smart is fabulous. It is fabulous. But being smart alone won't get you a PhD. You need to know how to work and work hard. Remember, though, that remarkable research project I've talked about in the past that surveyed the PhD students that finished and the PhD students that attrited, that left the program on the way through. So it was a study of those two groups. And they studied those two groups and they proved that the intellectual ability of both these groups was the same. So the reason that people can't or won't or leave a PhD program is not about intelligence. They're bright, interesting, intelligent people. So therefore, what is clear is we need something else to finish that thesis. And that is hard work. And it's also perseverance. So if you are going to extend knowledge, if you're going to create that original contribution to knowledge, then you are going to need perseverance. You will fail, and you will fail continually. The nature of being a researcher is you wake up in the morning and you have epic fails, and you have epic fails all day. Like fail, oh, that didn't work, oh, okay. And it's the capacity to fail all day and get up the next morning and go, let's fail again. And it's day after day after day of the failure of the hard work and the slog that leads you to success. So as you can see, perseverance is a really great characteristic of a PhD student. And that's why you'll see PhD supervisors talk about so often persistence and that great word, tenacity. Okay, and can I say they're also great students to supervise. 8, diligence, endurance, and discipline. Academic integrity and research integrity matter. Attention to details matter. So while we talk about passion a lot and exuberance and the commitment to the project, the PhD does require more. It requires that doggedness, endurance, diligence, but also discipline. I love supervising these students because You know, these are the great students when invariably research gets a bit boring, a bit chaotic, or a bit weird. Particularly in my disciplines, it's like, what is going on, right? Okay, that's just weird, okay? And when the weirdness happens or the oddity happens, these great students dig in. They dig in. So they don't fade, they don't wilt, they don't go, they go, okay, right, so I've got no idea what's going on. Let me dig in and I'm going to work out what's going on. They are great students. And I've often wondered why some people, and often the best researchers in the world, have this doggedness. So where does the doggedness come from? All these people are attacking them all around and they stay strong. So where does that doggedness come from? And from the research I've done, particularly in leadership, the doggedness comes from motivation, believing in what they are doing. But also, and I'll just put this point in there for your consideration, they take time in their life to sharpen the saw. Let me explain what I mean. So in the downtime, they work on themselves. They work on their health, they work on their fitness, they work on disciplinary literacy, so they read widely in the field, lots of different fields, interested in knowledge. They go to all sorts of presentations, go, I don't really know what that's about, but let's go and find out. They do a lot of online training. They do a lot of professional development. Okay, let's learn something today. Bring it on. So this means they are sharpening the saw, knowing that a really big tree is going to meet them at some point. And then they've spent the time, and they know they've spent the time strengthening themselves, their body, their mind, their motivation, and their skill set. Yeah. So when it gets tough, they can dig in because they've worked on endurance. Their saw is sharp, and they get through the tough times. 9. Information literacy and reading the literature. Wow, this has been a bit of a trope for the last few weeks, hasn't it? So we all know PhD students waste a lot of time, and they often waste a lot of time getting organised, and good on you for having a go, right? But if I could offer one intervention for PhD students out there in those first few days, weeks, months of a candidature, it is this. On day one, meet your librarian. And in the first week, enable that librarian to talk through your project and work out scoping parameters for your research. And further, once a month, go to a training session run by your librarians. Crucial. Now, what all of those techniques and tactics do is enable your information literacy, which as far as I'm concerned is the #1 characteristic of citizenship right now. It is so fabulous to supervise a student who holds the right tools, the right skills, the right information literacies to find out what they don't know. And they're able to find all the great literature, the crunchy, difficult literature, because they have the literacies to know who they are, know what their research area is, and find the encircling areas around it that are emerging. Tremendous. 10. Be proactive. This is the dream characteristic of a PhD student. They prepare for their meetings, they have key questions to ask, and they keep probing their supervisor until they're confident. So they're in a meeting, supervisor says something, are you cool with that? Not sure. And they keep asking questions until everybody is clear about what we're doing. They are great students to supervise. So they're also iterative in their feedback, in their research training, and they don't simply report their research findings or the stuff that happens in their candidature. They're not simply reactive, all this has happened, all this has happened. They're not just reactive, they're ahead of the problems. Wow, this is important. And when they're slowed down by those problems, they acknowledge them and they address them. So the key characteristic of the proactive student is that they begin with the end in mind. This is everything, because they know that examination is the key moment. This is everything. They know they are writing the PhD for examiners. So when students get terribly involved in their supervisor and, oh, he or she don't like me, that's fine. At the end of the day, what your supervisor thinks is irrelevant. You're writing this for your examiners. So awareness that the end is coming, and that's about examiners' views. So that therefore transforms expectations of time and resources, and they backwardly map from that completion. So to begin with the end in mind requires that you know who you are, and you have professional and research goals. And to have professional and research goals requires that you've sorted out your personal life. As best you can, life happens. So it means you have your personal goals in place, you have a trajectory of your life, if you like, if I want to use this weird language, you have a mission statement. What am I here to do? And that allows you to sort out your personal life, so your professional and research life can come from that. So you know why you're doing a PhD, and that motivation can sustain you. So in our culture, well, this is true, luck is overvalued. There's a large number of people who somehow have gained success, and I understand this. We look at them and go, how exactly did that occur? They must be lucky, and maybe that is the case. And look, luck is great when it comes to you, but we can't finish a PhD or base a professional life on being lucky. But if we are smart, motivated, and work hard, it's weird how often luck will follow you. I wish you love, light, and peace. Tea out.